So Karla, I want to share with my audience something really interesting that happened on your technique when we were working together. We worked together for how long? 5 years?
Yeah, I think 5 years.
And we started when you were 15 and you were a complete beginner. And on your forehand, without any instruction of mine, you developed a straight arm forehand. It is sometimes completely straight, sometimes you have a mini bend, but this is nothing I ever instructed you to do. It came completely natural to you. And the interesting thing about this type of forehand, this straight arm forehand, is that maybe the two greatest forehands of all time, Federer and Nadal, both play with a straight arm. So logically, a lot of people try to copy this. Now, the big problem is that if you try to adapt a straight arm forehand and it doesn't come natural to you, you're going to develop big problems. So what I want to do now with you is do it the exact opposite. I want to have you hit with a bent arm and we'll see what happens, okay? So basically, you try to, when you make contact, have the arm more of a bent and not as straight as you normally do, okay? So go right there on the baseline. Okay, Karla, so try to hit with a bent arm forehand and see what happens. Do it again. Okay, do it again. Here, one more. Okay, so the fascinating thing about this straight arm, bent arm dilemma on the forehand is that I guarantee you, even you are trying to bend the arm here, was still straightening out. And this is exactly my point with having a straight arm versus a bent arm, that it happens when the stroke accelerates to its fastest and it's very hard to control the arm structure there. So the genetic predispositions take over in that part of the forehand. And even though you're trying to have a bent arm, you still end up with more of a straight arm contact. And the interesting thing is that it works the same way in the other order. So if somebody has a bent arm forehand and they try to straighten it, and many people try to do this because of mainly Federer and Rafael, which is understandable, and so they will try to straighten the arm in the take back, and what happens is, because players are not really aware what takes place around the contact, because that part of the stroke is over in a few milliseconds, they think they're straight because they're straightening back here, and they'll still end up going into a bend. The same way when you're trying to bend the arm in contact, you weren't really aware of the contact that much, and naturally your arm had more of a tendency to straighten out.
So how do the top WTA pros hit the forehand?
That's a really good question. And your forehand is kind of rare. So most female players, and even some of the greatest WTA forehands of all time, all have a tendency to be more bent at contact, and some are even severely bent, where the elbow is very close to the body. And players such as Serena Williams, Simona Halep, Azarenka, Sharapova, Osaka, like really, really good forehands, Sloane Stephens as well, and they have more of a tendency to be bent. And in my opinion, this is due to genetic predispositions, because the vast majority of females plays that way. It appears that this part of the forehand comes more natural to them to play it with a bent arm.
Are there any guys that play with a bent arm?
Most guys play with a bent arm too. I did the research on this, and it's a couple of years old now, this research, but at that time, this was 2018, there were only 5 guys in the top 100 who played with a completely straight arm, like Rafa or Federer, and there were some that plays with a mini bend. So overall, I think there was like 13 or 14 guys in the top 100 that plays with a more straight arm. The vast majority of even the male players also plays the forehand with a bent arm. See, what happens is that naturally we're a little bit more comfortable playing the ball closer to the body. We feel more strength there. See, what happens is the further away from the body you are with the arm, the less strength you feel. You feel a little bit more strength here. So I think this is the primary reason why the vast majority of male and female players have more of a genetic predisposition to play with a bent arm. And Karla, there are some advantages to having a straight arm. Of course, you have a longer lever and there's a little bit more spacing with a straight arm. But unfortunately, even though there might be some advantages to hitting the forehand like this, it cannot be forced. And it's only possible if it's there from day one, like you, because you never forced the straight arm forehand. In fact, you never even realized that you play with such a forehand. Yeah, see, this is the funny thing that people need to understand, is that the contact on the forehand happens so fast that players are not even aware whether they're bent or straight. So Karla, let's finish off this video. You show off some of those great straight arm forehands, okay? All right, Karla, let it rip. Nice. Nice shot. And just to confirm, like, you have any idea what's going on in the contact? Can you feel the difference whether you're straight or bent?
I'm just trying to hit it hard.
You're just trying to hit. You're not really thinking about anything. The arm just kind of naturally gets into the proper position. You do a couple more. And match point. Let this one rip. Wow, nice forehand, Karla. All right, let's do a racket tap. Nice job.